All right, so now we're going to talk about the flawed mentality of abortion supporters. All right, so moving the goalpost. So pro-choice advocates constantly shift the definition of when life begins to suit their arguments. So one moment they say it's just a clump of cells, and the next they support fetal homicide laws when a pregnant woman is murdered. Right? So they reject the idea that a fetus is human when it comes to abortion, but acknowledge its humanity when discussing prenatal medical care, ultrasound images, or fetal rights in wrongful death cases. The definition of life should not be flexible based on personal convenience. If a fetus is a human being in one scenario, it is a human being in all scenarios, right? So this is certainly a baby, and they will try to call it a fetus or blastocyst or an embryo or whatever, but it's a small boy or a small girl. That's really what it is. And this is very, very important here. They will denying the scientific reality is a must when you are a pro-abortion type of person here. So embryology is clear, right? Human life begins at fertilization. Every major biology textbook states that a new genetically unique human being is formed at conception. However, the industry will claim that it's an implantation. The only reason they will do that is to sell birth control. It's not a medication; it's a death drug or whatever you want to call it. Medication. It's certainly not a medicine. It's certainly not. It's just an abortifacient. I guess that's the only way you could classify that. So abortion supporters deny this when it challenges their stance but accepts scientific advancement in fetal surgery, heartbeat detection, and viability outside the womb. Right? They claim a fetus is not a person, yet they celebrate baby kicks during a wanted pregnancy, showing they instinctively recognize the unborn as a child when it suits them. Right? So personhood as a convenient excuse. Instead of refuting biological facts, they shift the argument to personhood, a completely arbitrary and subjective concept used to justify dehumanization. And that's really what's going on here is the dehumanization. The dehumanization is what's going on here. They will, attempt to uh, say it is a blastocyst or it is a clump of cells or whatever, but it certainly is not. So you have to dehumanize this baby if you are of the flawed opinion, right? And this opinion is certainly flawed. I mean, that there's no moral argument or scientific basis on which to be of this mindset. It certainly is a frightening thought. So many people are okay with this, right? Throughout history, denying personhood has been used to justify atrocity. So slavery, genocide, eugenics, abortion is no different, right? So the question of is not when a fetus becomes human, it always is, but rather why society arbitrarily decides which humans deserve rights. And like I said, this Dr. Michelle Dow, she's playing Jesus and God, right? That's exactly what she's doing. She's saying this baby doesn't have the right to live, but that's not true. That's not true. This baby always had the right to live. The small boy or small girl was always had the right to live, but she murdered this baby in the coldest of cold blood that there could possibly be. I mean, there's no justification. I mean, this person and should be held to the highest standards. I mean, she is a doctor. Well, I don't actually believe that she would qualify to earn that title. I mean, she could certainly be some sort of a cardiologist or something like that. But no, she's an abortionist, right? Really cool stuff there. Yeah. So the double standard of choice. So they argue for bodily autonomy, but only for the mother, never the baby, who has no choice in the matter, and never for the father. Right? There's no, the father doesn't have a say. If his baby, I personally don't want my baby to be murdered, but I can't say anything because it's a woman's right. Well, what nonsense is that, right? My body, my choice. My that argument. It's some sort of mantra chanted over and over again. So they claim my body, my choice. Yet the developing child is a separate human with distinct DNA, a heartbeat, and the potential for a full life. The same people who advocate for abortion restrictions based on viability ignore that medical advancements continue to push the threshold of viability earlier and earlier. So my daughter was a preemie. Right? She was a premature baby girl, and she was a baby girl. When at the starting of the third trimester, 28 weeks. Is that how it is? Most certainly not. Right? She was a baby girl at day zero, right? Hour zero, second zero, when as a father, the sperm will meet the egg. Right? This is my daughter. Right, my daughter, and she was as much of my daughter as in day zero, with the fertilization or the conception. She was my wonderful daughter from that moment on, and I certainly love her very much. All my children I love very much. I'm just, saying about my particular daughter that I was thinking about at that time. But all my children I love very, very much, including the ones that I unfortunately lost due to this nonsense here. So justifying murder based on suffering. Okay, so the pro-choice argument often hinges on preventing suffering. Oh man, I was talking to a guy last night, and he's there. Oh, but this guy, they're suffering, and there's no question that this guy's suffering. Right? This is one of our good friends. He's I'm not 100% sure, but I do believe that his mother was drinking, so he's got some sort of fetal alcohol syndrome kind of thing. That the mother was drinking while she was pregnant with the baby. And he's a good friend of mine. Yeah, he's one of my best friends in this world. What a great guy, man! A really really great guy. But he's he doesn't have a girlfriend, he doesn't have a job, he doesn't have motivation. He is suffering for sure. He's suffering, but suffering does not determine the value of life. No, so for sure. So then my buddy was like, oh, this guy's suffering and all this stuff. So because he was suffering, no, the penalty should have been upon the mother for there should have been an indictment on the mother for drinking when she was pregnant with my good friend here, right? She should have had a penalty for harming that our neighbor, right? This is our neighbor. Who is our neighbor according to the law? Well, this baby is the neighbor. So anyway, but make no mistake, this guy, yes, he is suffering, sure, for sure, and I would not argue against that. I would certainly not argue otherwise. He is suffering, but he's a great guy. This guy's a wonderful guy, and he's one of my best friends ever. He certainly is a sound mind and everything like that. So should we have aborted him? Well, this guy claims that yes, but I'm like, why? Why would you do that? True story. This happened to me last night. If suffering justified death, then born children in poverty, disabled people, or those with depression could be killed too. And that's a slippery slope with MAID. They're trying to get the mental health. I don't know what the current situation with that, but if you were classified that you have a mental health issue there or problem or whatever kind of mental health, and the issue of psychiatry, man, that's a whole other topic. Psychiatry is a dodgy subject. Um, it's we're not going to get into that. So these people that are suffering could be killed too. Of course, I mean this is starting to get a little bit on the wacky side. It's certainly not scientific or moral or any kind of logic to it. It's certainly a emotionally charged and there's no basis for reality. I mean the basis really for reality is number one, the baby is a baby from day zero, from the first hour that the sperm will meet the egg. I mean that's the basis for reality. If you don't accept that, you can make any arbitrary goal post, as we said there. And of course, you'll be wrong to do that. So instead of eliminating suffering, they seek to eliminate the sufferer, an inhumane and dangerous mindset. Certainly, a dangerous idea. Certainly a dangerous idea. So ignoring the long-term consequences, abortion supporters focus on only the immediate problem of pregnancy, ignoring the psychological trauma many women experience afterwards. So some of these women are, cold-blooded and they don't care and they just, I'm happy I killed my baby and it's a woman's choice and it was my right to do that. But some people are traumatized, right? I killed my own baby. I can't believe it, and all that stuff. It's a traumatic thing. It certainly is. Um, that is a later abortion where you can see the face of the baby and all that stuff. Certainly is a traumatic thing. But this channel does prove beyond any doubt at all that the abortion issue does not only go for these later termed babies that are murdered. It's all for the birth control pill. Or the birth control pill certainly is an abortifacient. Um, so they ignore the demographic crisis caused by low birth rates, so the societal impact of declining populations, and the erosion of respect for human life. So they do not respect the life itself, right? So they claim to be for women's rights, but ignore how abortion has been used to exploit women, pressuring them into ending pregnancies they might have otherwise wanted. And that's a very, very true fact. There's sometimes pressure. Um, One of my students, he was saying that he was almost aborted. He was almost aborted, and they were pressuring his mother to have an abortion because she had so many children. And this is a Chinese gentleman here. I'm a teacher for Chinese business professionals, and this guy was warning me that I should not be talking about this kind of stuff. I could get reported and all this stuff, but. It's certainly it was an English medical English uh, you know medical science lesson, but we were talking about the embryology and all this stuff, and he said he was almost aborted as a baby because his mother was pressured into, and thankfully for him, the mother ran away, and she was not able to. Or he was able to survive, right? So his life was at risk due to these abortion policies. China's a little bit on the pro-choice mentality. Yeah, for sure. All right, so the conclusion is that the pro-choice mentality is built on contradictions, scientific denial, and ever-shifting definitions of life, personhoods, and rights. When challenged, they resort to emotional appeals, misleading language, and arbitrary moral distinction. The truth is simple. Human life begins at conception, and abortion is the intentional destruction of that life. No amount of rhetorical gymnastics can change that fact. All right, so thank you very much for tuning in. That is all for today. We're talking about the wacky, certainly wacky, flawed mentality of abortion supporters. But see, you need this flawed mentality to be able to, and it leads me to the topic for the next video, which I'll be talking about, which is how can society be programmed to accept such an atrocity, to accept such an atrocity? Is it like a hive mind kind of thing, or is it the TV, or feminists, or is there like some sort of a group of people that are having their undue influence? It cannot be just women's voting. It cannot be. Although women tend to vote for people that are supporters of abortion. We saw that with numerous instances where women tend to vote for. It doesn't really matter what kind of communism they bring around. As long as they get the right to abortion, then they'll vote for this. Yeah, guy. Yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next time.